people of South Africa recognizes the injustices of our past.
Honor those who suffered for justice.
And freedom in our land.
Respect those who have worked. Believe the South African belongs.
South Africa's history was deeply shaped by the wave of global exploration that began in the 16th century. And South Africa quickly became a focal point of interest. However, this period also marked the beginning of a darker chapter, a system of mass slavery, forced migration, and systematic violence that took root, leaving a legacy that continued to shape the nation's history. In the years that followed, England entered the scene, and despite its claim to abolish slavery with a law passed in Parliament in 1834, this move masked a deeper and far more disturbing reality: apartheid.
Our policy is one which is called by an Afrikaans word apartheid. And I'm afraid that has been misunderstood so often. It could just as easily, and perhaps much better, be described as a policy of good neighborliness, accepting that there are differences between people.
Under this regime, people were divided and controlled based on their race and skin color. By the 1990s, a powerful wind of change swept through the nation, led by anti-apartheid activist Nelson Mandela.
Our struggle against apartheid must be intensified on all fronts.
Mr. Mandela, we're here in the offices of your late grandfather after he left the office of the presidency.
My grandfather has been a global figure and a global icon. Embraced in the early years of my life, I came to visit the United Kingdom, where the anti-apartheid movement was vibrant and very strong. As you would know that my grandfather made a real commitment to the Palestinians on his visit in 1995, when he said that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinian people. We are free today as South Africans because of the international solidarity that we received, and the Palestinians were behind our struggle for liberation.
Obviously, you feel you're a major victim of this.
We are a country that has experienced 350 years of colonialism, coupled with 60 years of a brutal, oppressive apartheid regime. And the allies to our oppressors are still the very same allies to the Zionist entity in Israel.
Looking back at that, do you feel that South Africa today has a moral obligation in terms of lending its support, being a global voice for the Palestinian people, for their struggle against the state of Israel?
We could have never defeated the apartheid regime on our own. Today, we are free because of the sacrifices that our frontline states, and this is why today we unequivocally support all oppressed nations, whether it be in Western Sahara, Palestine, Kashmir, and the likes. We will always rise. And I think my grandfather has always coined it best when he says, as long as there is one single human being suffering in the world, we will be there to to add our voice.
What do you think your late grandfather would assess the situation now? What Israel's doing right now, what's happening in Palestine right now?
My grandfather has always regarded the Palestinian struggle as the greatest moral issue of our time. I'm certain that he would have called for the arrest of the perpetrators of these gross human rights violations that we have over the past year on a daily basis been watching, particularly of the butchering of women and children.
Mr. Mandela, if you were to describe in one word what Israel is doing right now, what would it be?
Genocide, ethnic cleansing, a total annihilation of Palestinians. We watch this on a daily basis, live on TV and on social media.
Even with seaside views and upscale boutiques, the call for justice cannot be ignored. Passionate protesters gather among the bustling crowds, determined to raise awareness of the unfolding crisis in Gaza. In a space of affluence and leisure, their voices serve as a stark reminder of the urgent need for global accountability. Sir, you've been out here since pretty much before the events of October the 7th. Tell me how your journey's been.
So, you know, I've always been involved in the Palestinian industry, in activism. I've always been at the protests, attending, you know, solidarity events and so forth. So when the 7th of October occurred, I ran to the streets. I did everything I could. I mobilized the masses. I tried everything. I collaborated with organizations. And I feel as a South African, why I came onto this movement is because, you know, we've suffered apartheid. And we've been through apartheid, so it's only just of me to do the morally correct thing and stand up for the people of Palestine.
Where we are right now, it's actually a more affluent part of Cape Town.
Yes.
How do you feel your message resonates with the people who actually come here?
So, as you can see, it's at waterfront Cape Town, the V&A, right? And this place attracts many tourists. So we get a variety of people. And we also sometimes, you know, what I say is you can't change a Zionist mind, but you can change a Zionist sympathizer's mind. And where we are at waterfront, this is predominantly Zionist area, and it attracts many tourists. So we come here every time in waterfront, making a bold statement that South Africa stands with Palestine, no matter what. We are always there in full support of Palestine.
Free Palestine!
So it's essentially you're acting as a gateway for them to really sort of explore what the truth is.
Exactly. Because like I told you, a Zionist is stuck in his ways, but you know, there's some people that are on the fence, and we still have the opportunity to pull those people to the right side of history.
Free Palestine!
If you were to describe perhaps in one word, what do you feel Israel is doing?
There's a few words: brutal, atrocious, barbaric, disgusting. How many for a year I've been seeing on my phone? Fathers walking with their children in packets. That's just one video. How many more are there? How many times have I seen a father carrying his dead child, but lifeless, the body's lifeless? How many times have I seen that? Every day I see it on my phone.
When people are colonized, we don't want no Zionists. Stop the killing, stop the hate.
South Africa has long been a vocal advocate for justice on the international stage, drawing on its own history to champion for equality and human rights. We're going to be talking to Zaid Dangor, South Africa's Director General of International Relations, to unpack his experiences at the International Court of Justice as the case against Israel has brought to the world's attention issues like accountability and international law. Mr. Director General, I'm wondering if you could tell me what it's like representing your country in such a high-profile international case?
To be honest, it's one of those cases where we wish we didn't have to do it. Given the fact that it's a genocide on the go, we acted to prevent bloodshed, we acted to prevent the genocide, and we called it the textbook genocide as soon as we saw the events following October 7th.
The fact that you've brought this case while all these tragic events are ongoing, unfolding, do you feel it adds more legitimacy or inertia to the case?
Our very initial application was we used what is called a contentious measure, which is essentially, which allows us to bring provisional orders. And in our provisional orders, we asked for Israel genocidal acts to be stopped. And yet we have the inertia that you're talking about is coming from the fact that there's a lacuna in international law. And we hope that this will, once the acts has been argued from a legal perspective again, that it actually provides the impetus for the international community to act.
So, in many respects, this is a tipping point, and a BC AD type moment for international justice.
It deals with individual criminal liability and accountability. Before going to the ICJ, we referred the events on October 7th and after October 7th to the ICC to investigate. In our engagements with the ICC pre-trial chamber, they made it very, very clear to us, and we accepted that, that Article 98 does not provide for any immunity for any heads of state. The crime of apartheid and the fact that Israel was an apartheid state was now firmly on the international agenda. So the first parallel was settler colonialism and apartheid. The fact that we then brought the case of genocide under the Genocide Convention and in our opening statements made the link that indigenous people have been killed through settler colonial violence like this forever, whether it was in the Congo or elsewhere. The issue with genocide, most cases of genocide are so difficult to prove. It's not the number of people you kill, with special intent. So we're seeing 5% of a population being killed, which is massive.
It may be redundant to ask, but if you were to describe, perhaps in one word, what Israel is doing now?
Evil. Unconscionable. But Israel knows they can get away with it because they've been allowed to get away with it for 7 decades. And we're trying to stop that.
Zane Dangor's powerful words echo the deep pain of a global crisis. I'm eager to find out more on South Africa's resilient Muslim minority. On the outskirts of Cape Town, a close-knit community gathers each Thursday to break their 24-hour fast, a spiritual act that unites them in faith and purpose. It's a reminder of how solidarity transcends borders. Do you believe that the strength, the resilience of a community is determined by how they're bound to their traditions, to their customs, to be able to come together for a cause like this?
First of all, this program that we have, we've started it 21 years ago. And it started with the assassination of the founder of Hamas. And so we have this program for 21 years where every Thursday we fast for the liberation of Palestine. And we also know that it gives a lot of strength to the people of Palestine to know that people so far away, in the most southern tip of Africa, They are fasting, they are sacrificing for us in Palestine. I'm also going to fast now for the rest of my life for the liberation of Masjid al-Aqsa. So alhamdulillah, we know that this is the strength of our community, answering your question.
But you also, as a group, you went to the Holy Land, to Palestine, more than 10 years ago.
Yeah. I was in 1992, 1999, I was in Palestine. And I was very fortunate that 5 times I've been to Gaza. What Gaza is, it's like any other society. Hardworking people, they've got the best of universities. Just before we enter Gaza, somebody told us, you're going to see a lot of mountains in Gaza in the form of human beings. And that is why they still survive the attack of the so-called most powerful armies in the world.
Do you feel that because of the history of this country, combined with your faith?
You are so correct to say that because of our faith, that is number one. As faith that these are our fellow brethren in Islam. But also because what we experience in this country of racism and apartheid, we know, we've got an idea what the Palestinians are going through. And we are so proud of our government. It is the only government in the world that took the Israelis to the International Court of Justice. Can you imagine Nelson Mandela coming out of prison, suffering for 27 years? But one of his first statements was, we in South Africa, we won't be able to enjoy our freedom unless and until Palestine will be free.
If you could describe, perhaps in one word, what Israel is doing to Palestine, to the Palestinians, how would you describe it?
I think it's horrible, terrible. The sad part is that most of humanity are quiet. But inshallah, here in South Africa, we won't stay quiet. And I want to add that we are very proud of the people of Turkey for what they are doing. It's one of the most few countries, maybe the only country where Palestinians can move freely. And inshallah, one day, all of us, we will be all together in a free Palestine.
There were many people who resisted the apartheid regime, but perhaps one name that stands above all is Ronnie Kasril. He's a former guerrilla, a military commander, and Minister of Intelligence Services. He's also an outspoken advocate for the Palestinian cause. He's often seen criticizing Israeli policies, but what's ironic is Ronnie is Jewish. And through his outspokenness, he has become a poster child for people around the world to stand up for the Palestinian cause. So, Ronnie, you've talked about your early upbringing and exposed to the Zionist philosophy. Today, it's very different from where you stand. Talk to me about this transformation. It's very interesting.
Well, it was actually very short, and in my childhood days, didn't last very long, but born into a Jewish immigrant family from Lithuania and Latvia, my grandparents. However, it didn't take long for me to emerge from this cocoon of Zionism. And that was basically because there was something of a rebel inside me. By the time I was 20-ish, the Sharpeville massacre took place. And that shocked me to the core. And I felt I had to do something. And I read more and more, and with the debate, and I became a firm anti-Zionist. Not a non-Zionist, but an anti-Zionist. And for the cause of black liberation, I saw the parallels between the conditions of black people in South Africa under cruel apartheid segregation and the theft of their land. And I could see this in relation to what the Palestinians had been through.
But it's interesting. I mean, a lot of the policies that are being displayed by the state of Israel, it's perhaps done under the guise of we need to do this to exist. There's an existential threat. You would counter that argument.
So I had seen this already in South Africa. And the answer to it is very simple. Whether it was the white community of minority in South Africa turning against internally the black people of this country who they were oppressing and the neighboring states. And the answer, actually, for the sake of the whites and the blacks in South Africa and people within the historic Palestine, is to learn to live together in equality, in a democracy. That's served its purpose here.
What lessons do you feel that the Palestinians can demonstrate, practice, learn from your years?
The civil movement of boycott, divestment, sanctions, etc. And our lesson, first of all, the most primary requirement is the unity of the forces, the people who are suffering the results of this racist oppression. And as we know, in Israel, it's actually genocidal. It's got to that extreme.
On a final note, I want to ask you, if you were to describe what Israel is doing in Gaza, in the occupied West Bank, perhaps in one word, what do you think it'd be?
Genocide. Genocide in one word. We see it. It's not like 1948, where you heard about things months later. We see it every single hour of the day on television around the globe.
Outside Cape Town's Holocaust and Genocide Center, protesters rally on a significant day, the anniversary of the adoption of the Genocide Convention, a global pledge to prevent and punish such atrocities. Under heavy security and perhaps a little bit of irony, demonstrators raised their voices, calling attention to the echoes of history. Professor, tell me about what's the action that's happening today.
This is a Holocaust Center. We asked the Cape Town Holocaust and Genocide Center to go inside and to commemorate, memorialize, and remember all those who were killed in the Holocaust and those who are being killed in the genocide.
Do you feel that there's a sense of irony here?
It's a sense of twisted irony, but it fits in because Zionism has hijacked the memory of those who killed in the hideous wars of the Second World War, and they deny everybody else the level, the dignity of being humans, the worth of being humans, as the killing fields are happening over there. They not only deny the Palestinians are undergoing a genocide, they support a Holocaust and a genocide amongst the Palestinians.
It seems that there's a bit of hardship, there's a bit of obstacles put up by the people across the street. Talk to me about that.
You can see the guns that they are wearing, the private militias, which seems to be cooperating with the South African police to silence us in speaking out against the genocide, against the illegal occupation, against the crime of apartheid. And in South Africa, as South Africans, we feel we have a special obligation in terms morally and legally to protect the Palestinians because we went through it.
And if you were to describe what Israel is doing in Gaza right now,
it's worse than what has happened in South Africa. It's a genocide.
As our journey in South Africa comes to a close, we're left with a profound understanding of why this nation stands so resolutely with the Palestinian cause. South Africans know all too well the cost of segregation, oppression, and displacement. This shared history has forged an unshakable bond of solidarity. It's not just political, it is deeply personal. For South Africans, standing with Palestine is an extension of their own fight for justice and human dignity.
They wanna know what greatness looks like. Everybody want the title, but they ready to fight. Oh, you heard about